welcome to the lockdown sessions from Wrestling Travel. Also brought to us by our friends over at the True Heel Heat podcast. I always say, if you got room for one wrestling podcast in your life, listen to True Heel Heat. They're awesome. If you got room for two, check us out. We've got one going too. But today we have Big Kon joining us. Big Kon, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Bark. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thought maybe you had a new gimmick there. What's going on? So,
no.
Whoa, man, we've been trying to set this up for a little bit now. I'm glad we finally both have had the time in our schedules. So we are happy to have you. And I'm going to start grilling you right from the beginning.
I love it, baby.
We're going to go right into it. This whole thing was set up. I want to know what people have been doing during the pandemic, but I'm going to start way back at the beginning. How long have you been in the business?
Well, I've been now 20 years. So I started back in 2000, actually, when I first stepped into a ring, and it was at a gentleman by the name of Rusty Brooks is his school that I started down here in South Florida, which I'm sure you guys have heard of Gangrel. And that was probably one of his, if not his top students. So yeah, I got a little Gangrel history too. So it's pretty cool, you know? So between that and, I got to, give a big blast and shout out to my coach, Coach Alex G. Yeah, he's also the one that trained me in MVP. So we all started together. So quite a little history there, but 20 years, it's been 20 years in this business, and it's been wonderful.
Wow, I did not, I do a little bit of my Wikipedia research as a journalist, but I did not think it had been that long. What, now when you're a young Big Kon, when you're a little Kon, that's how this is getting crazy. But who are you watching? Who first captures the magic of pro wrestling? You turn on your TV and you see who, and what are you watching?
Yeah, great question. Actually, I haven't been asked that question yet. I grew up and I watched a lot of professional wrestling with my stepfather and my grandfather. And what originally got me into this business was watching George the Animal Steele, who was one of my favorites of all time. And that wasn't, he was more of a showman, which I really appreciated because to this day, I could probably go back and watch his stuff and still believe that he was truly that character. And Lanny Poffo, believe it or not. When I was a little kid and I used to see this guy throw Frisbees out, I used to want one of those. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So those were the guys that influenced me when I first started watching professional wrestling, that made me want to become a professional wrestler. But just as time went on, it was, I think, much like you and me, like we grew up, and it was Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Ravishing Rick Rude, The $1 Million Man. That golden era was amazing, and of course I didn't have favorites because I just enjoyed the whole product in itself, the NWA, WCW, whatever, AWA. Like I just loved it.
I'm an AWA to the core guy up here in Wisconsin. It's what I grew up watching.
Beautiful.
Everybody always asks me my favorite wrestler, and I'm like, you're gonna not. It's Greg Gagne.
I was gonna say Gagne. I mean, that's pretty much his baby,
I know, and I'm like, if I could ever make some connection and get a chance to talk to Greg Gagne on the show, I would promise people I would end the show. That would be it. That would be my swan song. But you mentioned Lanny Poffo, and here's something I've never done before, and this is unrehearsed. Let me see if I got it. I had on this old VHS tape. We grew up with 3 channels. So what I recorded was what I watched instead of watching figure skating. But it was before. It was, oh, my God, Dino Bravo and Greg Valentine. And before the match, he said, just look at luscious Johnny V. You know why he's a flop. His dream team has to pay their dues. at Beefcake's Barbershop. It was a Lanny Poffo that stuck. Now, can I remember algebra? No, but that thing is stuck in my head for how long. So great. I mean, I love Lanny. Lanny was doing a lot of moves when it was big men just kind of brawling, and Lanny had a little bit of the athleticism, I guess, now that he really, I could never figure out why until he was the genius, in my little brain, why he wasn't used more.
He was ahead of his time, I thought, when you go back and look at like some of his move sets and things like that. Back then, like a high flyer was just a guy that jumped off the top rope. Lanny's doing moonsaults.
Yeah.
He was, just amazing. And did you know, and I just found this out not too long ago, that every Frisbee that Lanny threw out, I had no idea about this until just recently, that he actually wrote a poem and put them on the back of each Frisbee, and every poem was different. Really? I had no idea. That is so cool to me. I had no idea. So just a little 411 on that.
That's awesome. I wonder if, I'm just a lot of people that in the same locker room are like, oh, don't be a mark, Justin. I'm like, dude, I'm a mark because we're all marks or we won't be doing it.
Yeah.
But I'm always like, I wish I had some cool collectible things, and that would be something that would be pretty awesome. Like, I'm not a big display guy or sell it on eBay guy, but man, I'm lucky I don't win the lottery because I would waste it on a lot of stuff like that, just trying to have it. I did not know that he wrote. Did he? Yeah. I think he's got a book out with some poetry in it too, maybe a few years ago.
He's got a couple things going on, man, and I'll talk to him and maybe see if we can get you something like that, because I stay in touch with him. It's so cool because it's like here you are growing up, you find someone you absolutely idolize, and then he's every bit of everything that you could ever imagine. He really is a hero. Like, he's just so nice and he's so cool. So I'll have to talk to him, see if we can get him something for you. I think that'd be pretty dope.
Oh, either that or even if he wants to do get him on or talk to him.
That could be very possible, actually.
I have a hard, my wrestling, and I don't want to rip on Wrestling Travel because that's my company. They're my boys, but I have a UK email address, and I know that I go to the junk mail. I think even with you, I think I reached out
spam.
And I was like, I'm a spam because it ends with .org. Or I'll get a lot of guys going, hey, I emailed you back so long ago, and it's like, did you use .com or .org? And I'm like, yeah. So we need to get with the times maybe and get a .com, but we're a .org. But yeah, man, Lanny Poffo and George Steele is another guy that I never comes up, unfortunately, in a lot of conversations about somebody watched and enjoyed, and he was another one.
I wish all I have is stories on him, and I just heard that he was absolutely just a great, genuine guy who was very smart. And it sucks because I've met a lot of people in my career, and he was one of the ones that I never had a chance to meet. And I got Lanny, which was awesome, but man, I really wish I could have met George though.
There's so many of them from our childhood that are they're gone. We missed it.
I know.
One of my big things that we started doing this, like I said, WrestleMania weekend, just to I was like, how can I help the guys and girls out? Maybe we can use our voice, do an interview, and they can sell a ticket, sell a t-shirt. But one of the things that goes on in my head is I would love to do, because I'm an AWA guy, is catch a lot of these AWA legends before they're gone, and get these stories on YouTube. I'm sure somebody else has done it, but I feel like I've always wanted to ask questions that maybe they haven't heard. I was watching AWA as a kid, talk about Lanny Poffo, and you'll know this name. There's a young guy named Ricky Rice who I can't track down. Nobody can. Was in the WWE as an enhancement talent, but major player, like 1988 in AWA, threw a drop kick, like from standing to the top of your head. Well, he's in a tag team with this guy that I don't hear of as a kid. And I'm like, this guy's going to get crushed. Mondo Guerrero. And then he goes through in like 1988. I'm watching, talk about like a Lanny Poffo with a moveset that I've never seen. That was my first introduction, unless you count Lasertron, who I did not know was Hector Guerrero at the time. But the moves were awesome. The Guerrero brothers.
Oh, yeah. They were innovative for sure. There's no doubt about it. You know, there's a reason why they went down. They're in history books, right? Like, those guys are amazing.
Just solid, just bringing it to the ring and just everything. But it was those movesets along with the psychology and the storytelling that I didn't realize when I was watching it at the time. But now when I go back and I watch some stuff today, I go, there's some missing pieces here, which I can appreciate. So you start 20 years ago. I got to stop talking the interviews about you. You got me all excited. This is why the lockdown sessions on YouTube is like the #1 in place of melatonin at night on YouTube for people. Because I'm rambling on and on. So you finally just decide, hey, I mean, is the training center near where you live, or you got to pack up and move, or you just say, I'm going for it, or how does this all start?
Well, so originally 2005 was when it all started, as far as, so 5 years into the independent business, I get my phone call and I get the contract and I go to Atlanta, Georgia. So I've got to move. A couple of years later, that shuts down, moved to FCW, and, you know, that ended up shutting down, and then moved to Orlando for the PC, which I was there the day that we knocked the walls down, opened it up with Hunter and stuff, which was freaking awesome, you know. But see, the thing that's cool for me is I'm a Florida boy. Like, I live in Florida. I've lived in South Florida. I live in Tampa right now. So everything I did was pretty local. So I got really lucky. And I wasn't some of these guys who, you know, are up north in Chicago, the Northeast area. Like, everything I've ever needed was pretty much right by me.
Okay, so you're 5 years in, and they tap you on the shoulder, say, come on down. So that's got to be from training on the indie scene to going to the performance center. That's a 180, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's so, and I tell people this, that for me, it was right place, right time. It wasn't because I was anything special. I had a good look. I was tall, abs, you know, the whole package. And there was a lady by the name of Riptide, Angel Orsini, who lives up in the Northeast area. And I happened to build a relationship with her because she would come down and train at Rusty Brooks' school once in a blue moon. And so I told her one day, I said, hey, listen, do you think it's worth even trying to get a shot, you know, a tryout with WWE? She goes, absolutely. She goes, send me a tape and we'll send it to Tommy Dreamer. So that's what I did. I sent that and it went to Tommy, and it kind of worked itself out. And Tommy was like, hey, you want a job? And I was like, hell yeah, of course. Yeah, that's what you shoot for, right? So I was excited, you know. So 2005, my career started pretty much.
And now, are you, when somebody does sign, like at that time in 2005, do they put you through the paces at the performance center for a while before they start putting you out? I imagine you maybe you're on house shows and dark matches with NXT.
No.
Or what was the case at the time?
Yeah, so Deep South was a little bit different. You just had to report there. So basically it would be just reporting to training camp. And that's what it was like for about a year and a half. So we'd go there. We didn't do very many shows. What shows that we did do, it was in-house. So we kept everything kind of right there. There wasn't a lot of traveling or anything like how it was in NXT when we were at the Performance Center, where they do, you know, all the coconut loops, they call them now, where they're traveling all over. So it was pretty simple. You go in there, you bust your ass for about 4 hours. Sometimes if you feel like you're froggy and you want to get a little bit better, you go in to a second practice. It could be an 8-hour day if you want. You go to the gym, you do your thing, and then weekends come and you just forget about everything. You know, you just go out, you drink with the boys, you have a good time, you build camaraderie, and that was pretty much that. It was pretty simple for the most part. in the beginning stages of developmental. I mean, don't get me wrong, you had to work your ass off. It was always, party hard, train harder. That was the philosophy in Deep South. You had to enjoy things, but you also had to bust your ass. And and that's just like anything in life. You want to get good at it. You just, you grind. That's all you have to do. And it's simple now because of the process I've gone through all these years. I'm just like, you just got to grind. But back then, man, I was sore as hell, fucking getting up. I was like, shit, man. Like, I don't even know if I can walk because I did so many squats. But I was like, you know what? They made me better. I can move better. I never got tired. So you basically were turning into a machine.
Yeah, you just get up and do it. It sounds like my college football career. Maybe get up, maybe go to practice, maybe go to class, drink hard on the weekends, and that was what we did. That's exactly what it's. Now is Vic in Deep South, or how do you meet Vic?
No, so Vic was with OVW. I met Vic in FCW. I want to say he came in 2010, 2011. And that's when I first had met Vic, and then we just eventually started tagging once things went down with Rom, Kenneth Cameron. He got into some legal issues, and then they needed a replacement, so they threw him in with me, and then the rest was kind of history from there.
Yeah, I was always curious if that's something on that higher level, if it's they see you two guys getting along, or if it's just like, hey, we're going to put, I shouldn't say it now, but Marty and Sean, we're going to put you guys together. You don't really know each other. Here we go.
Yeah, no, it was one of those things we appreciated each other. We never ever disliked each other. It was just one of those things where, there was a member missing, and it's okay. Think about this. They told me, they said, hey, think about it, whatever. For me, it was nothing to think about. He fit the part. He looked the part. He was perfect for the part. And he's a hell of a worker. So it was one of those things where, we clicked, you know what I mean? And we respect each other, and we think, and we can also think, on the same page without even really talking to each other. So it worked, it just kind of just worked itself out for the most part.
And you guys have this, I remember that was, I think, right around the first time I started watching NXT. And here comes you guys out of nowhere, this big muscled up tag team, which for me is like a little bit of a throwback. Obviously there's comparisons to other tag teams, but I'm talking about a throwback to the good old days of 80s wrestling. Yeah. Here comes two big guys that are gonna beat the heck out of you. So I mean, I want to, obviously no story is from out of nowhere, but for me at that time, logging into NXT and locking right in on you guys, I'm loving it. Did you guys did it take off with the fans right away? Did it take a while to get the look right? I mean, how did that work on that level?
Yeah, so ideally what we had, this whole original look was the vampire type-esque look with the eyes, the contacts, the light ups and all that crazy shit. And then eventually, Hunter even said it. He's like, we want to make you guys a little more raw. We want you guys to be a little more smash mouth. And I was like, cool. And he gave us that, and then let us run with it however we wanted to do it. Of course, he wanted me to get a new haircut because my hair was big and black and poofy and all types of weird shit, So, it was just one of those things where we got to create that. And then, of course, the whole, like you were saying earlier, people with the comparisons of the tag teams and all that, that was actually news to us, because we were like, well, wait a second. Like, we're not trying to be like that. Like, that's not who we are. So they started feeding that into feeders for the fans and stuff. And, that's tough because, listen, man, no bullshit, straight up. Like, there can only be one LOD, and I'll call it out because I'm pretty much a straight shooter, and I'm going to say what it is. There's only one, Powers of Pain. There's only one Demolition, and you can never ever, you can't imitate them. That they're just their own thing. And ideally, what I wanted to do was just be the Ascension. I didn't want face paint. I didn't want none of that. I don't think we needed any of that. I just hit our music, let us dress the way we want to dress, and let us beat the shit out of people. That was all we wanted, and it was working. So as time went on, it started catching on. The fans started buying into it because they knew the whole "ya" movement. The people started getting crazy, So once it caught on, it was fucking awesome because that was who we were. You saw who we were, and that's just straight, no bullshit, straight up,
I loved it. I loved the look. Have you ever got a chance to talk with and I don't know, I just got a chance to speak with him maybe a year ago, but Joe Laurinaitis on things like that. Like I know he'll know bullshit. Like, hey, he was telling a story about some of these people in pro wrestling being very cocky, maybe having a TV contract and showing up to an indie promotion, and he's going, hey, listen, if anybody has any reason to be cocky as hell, it would be me, and I'm not like that. Like, he seems really, really grounded and down to earth as far as a wrestling aspect goes. And I know that was the Legion of Doom comparison was something that, me watching from afar was like, man, it's just something for everybody who has a keyboard to get a hold of. And I just felt bad.
Well, at least it wasn't you.
Yeah. So you guys,
that's a mountain that you gotta try to move. That you just can't move it. Nobody can. I don't give a damn who you are. Nobody can move that mountain. That is there, and it's in place for a reason.
And here you guys are, obviously busting your balls to be the best you can be, and you got that sitting there through no fault of your own to try to work through. And like you said, what do you do? Here we are. Well, what do? You kick ass, and you eventually win the NXT tag titles and hold them for damn near a year, if not a year.
Yeah, I think we were just a few days short of a year, which was a bummer, man. I was like, oh, come on. You just let us hold it for just a couple more days.
Yeah, please, or change something. I mean, and you guys, go ahead.
We worked hard, I don't know how it is now, but man, Vic and I, we really busted our ass because even on live events and stuff like that, we had to always work and we had to always be there. We were always doing the main events, and it was 5 days a week we were going, for almost a whole year on top of doing the shows and stuff. So it's something we were really proud of because I know, and we had to go to practices every day, and so nowadays from what I hear, I don't know how true it is, but I heard that there's a little more pullback now. They want to make sure, guys don't get injured so much and stuff, which is great, but we were through the beginning stages of all this, and it was fucking grind, man. And I'm saying it was grind time. So I was really proud of that we got out of that injury free. It was, I don't know, man. I think I could be wrong, but I think that still stands today, right? Still the longest reigning tag team champions.
It is second on the list behind the Undisputed Era, but they've got a couple reigns in there where you guys got like the single longest reign, which is
those
awesome. And I know it's not about when you're in this side of the business, it's like I'm doing my job. It's not about the belts, but at some point, that's that recognition that you're getting from the fans and everybody else out there. Like, it's good to have that little trophy reminder, and now you can go back and go, hey, like you just said, we grinded, and for a year, almost a year, 2 days shy or whatever it was. Now, I'm all over the place. You can tell I'm such a journalist. So when you're training down there at the Performance Center, and obviously you got some training with Gangrel, did I read correctly, or is Wikipedia leading me astray again? Did you it counts Sarge as one of your trainers?
No, but
Really? Wikipedia.
But I got a great story about that, though.
All right.
Wikipedia, first off, is the internet's pretty much always wrong. But
well,
how I got into wrestling was because of him. And so there was a buddy of mine named Don Hernandez. He did landscaping work, and one day he needed some help. And he had hit me up and he said, "Hey, listen, I need some help today. I'll pay a couple bucks. Come help me out." He goes, "Plus I got a guy there you might really appreciate, And I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, cool, whatever, So I go there and, I'm laying rock and all whatever, that I needed to do. And sure enough, Sarge gets out of his car and he comes walking out back with that big old chin of his. and I'm starstruck because I grew up, it wasn't so much wrestling that I fell in love with him. It was G.I. Joe. Legit. Like, it was G.I. Joe. Like, that was my favorite cartoon as a kid. And so I was like, whoa. I was like, "You're Sgt Slaughter." And he's like, "Hey, kid." We started talking. He goes, "Hey, have you ever thought about becoming a professional wrestler?" And I was like, "I love it. I never really thought about it because I wanted to get into football." And so he's like, "You should think about becoming a professional wrestler." So basically he told me how to do it. And then I just kind of looked into it from there. So Sarge is the guy that actually threw the seed into my head.
I can tell you a Sgt Slaughter story that you will appreciate. When you talk about meeting nice guys in the business, This is probably 15 years ago. My girlfriend at the time says, we're getting minor league baseball. They have like whatever night, pro wrestling night. She says, "I'm going to take my dad." Her dad was a huge Wisconsin Badgers fan. Ron Dane is down there signing autographs.
Oh, wow.
"I'm going to take my dad down there." And she goes, "And the next week, I'm going to take you down there because Sgt Slaughter is down there." I'm like, "All right, great." She comes back from the Ron Dane. I said, "How was it?" And Ron Dane, please don't kill me. This is what I was told. She said, "Ron Dane is like this." Sign an autograph back on this phone. I said, "Okay."
Doesn't even care.
Yeah. She's like, "My dad was a little bit disappointed. There wasn't a big line for it." So that was a good thing. So the following week we go and Sgt Slaughter is there. We're probably 200 yards away from him in line to go. And I got like a thing I wanted to sign. So I'm like, "Cool, man." And she is furious. "We're waiting this long. We didn't have to wait for Ron Dane." And I go, "Please, when we get this guy's old school, trust me, he's going to be nice." We get up there and I go like this to shake his hand and he just ghosts me right past me like that sixth sense. And he goes, "Ma'am, I just want you to know that I'm sorry it took so long, but I try to give all my fans all the time. They don't always get a chance to meet me." And I'm like, "Okay, how cool is that?" She leaves. She's a Sgt Slaughter fan. Last year at AEW All Out, I'm in the convention hall and Sarge is in there as well. And I go, "I want to tell him that story." And he goes to me, "You know why that is?" He goes, "I was like 11 years old and I was in line to meet Joe DiMaggio. And I was 3 people away. And they were like, 'Oh, yep.' Joe's like, 'It's time. I did my hour. I got to go.' And he goes, I said right there and then, if I ever get the opportunity that somebody wants to meet me, I'm going to do all the time I can." And I'm like, "Dude, that makes that already cool story I have a whole lot cooler."
And doesn't that make you have so much respect for him? Like, you look at like some of the things that he's done and it's like, he didn't have to do that, but that just makes him so much better. He's one of the good guys. Like, he's an amazing human being too. Like, just to hear stories like that where he could have got up, right? And an hour later he could have just been like, "Oh, the hell with it. My time's good. I'm done." But no, he wants to sit there and make sure that everybody gets to meet him, shake his hand, sign whatever they want. Like, that's what makes me love this so much, is because there are guys in the business that are like him. And that's a testimony alone.
Yeah, I mean, he's just one of the guys that makes, we're all about, everybody's got to make their dollar. but he's
Sure.
just one of those guys that surpasses that and is like, you know what? He's not one of these guys you hear about on the indie scene that a little kid walks up to and he's like, well, if you don't have $5, you can't get my autograph. I mean, I just don't have time for stuff like that. Now, if it's 46-year-old me coming up to you, you could tell me to piss off. But when you got little kids, when their eyes are this big and they're, you know how it is when you were watching wrestling. How old were you when you, did you get to go to a live event, whether it was independent or not, when you were a young big con, I guess?
Yeah, my dad took me to one that I don't recall, but it was in Memphis because we used to live in Tennessee, and he's like, oh, we used to go to it all the time. And I'm just like, we did? Cool. Did I like it? He goes, you were having fun. I was like, all right, there we go. So
I remember my first time going, and this is crazy. Like, I hope these guys don't come up and beat me. Are you going to boo the bad guy? Hell no. I'm going to try to stay alive tonight. I'm only, I always say that when we're young guys, for some reason, and my father was great to me, but you respected angry old dudes because I always had in the back of my head, like, dude, they could take their belt off right now. So I always was like, yes, sir, no, sir. But it was just mesmerizing to watch it all. Sgt Slaughter, fantastic. What when you're at the PC now, who is actually taking? I mean, is Dusty there? Is it Norman Smiley? Who were the guys that kind of running the show back then?
Yeah, Dusty was in charge of all the promos. He would have the promo class. He would do anything to help with character development. Another gentleman by the name of Ryan Katz, which was Dusty's assistant, which I think Ryan Katz is now in charge of all of that. Just another great guy. Bill DeMott was there. He was in charge of the whole big shebang. Then we had Norman Smiley. We had Robbie Brookside. We had a Billy Gunn was there. We had Billy Gunn, which was phenomenal. So yeah, I mean, it was just, and then of course, as like time went on, we had Eugene. You would have some people that would be there, and then they would go, and so it was. But the staples to me, when I think about it, are Norman Smiley. It was Dream. It was Bill DeMott, and it was Billy Gunn. When it came to when I was coming through, those aren't bad names, right?
No,
pretty cool.
That's a hell of a list there. So what? When you guys dropped the belts in NXT, is that, and my history might be, is that a result of a call up to the main roster?
Yeah. So what we needed to do at that point was we dropped the belts. We gave them to the Lucha Dragons, who needed the rub at that point. We had Finn and Hideo come in, and the ultimate idea was to get them primed and set up for NXT for us to leave. So that was kind of the agenda. Give the Lucha Dragons the belts. We get into a feud with them, which was fucking amazing, by the way. We had so much fun. Those were probably two of my favorite individuals ever to be in the ring with. So we worked with them, and then, we made them look the best we could. And then it was just, it's all yours, boys, and then we were gone.
Yeah, that I did not expect them. You guys did your job, because you're looking at the Lucha Dragons. They're fast moves, and I didn't expect that title change. But so you go up the next rung of the ladder, and now you said you're an open book. I'm going to straight shoot with you.
Do it.
Dude, I mean, they seem to, quote unquote, you guys are kind of lost in the shuffle, buried. What's going on? I'm expecting. I know you're probably just as disappointed as I was, and I'm not even there. You're probably more. But what happens? Why is it, as much as you can talk about surrounding where we don't get the Ascension kicking ass every week. What's the process there?
Yeah, that boils. So in NXT, you have certain individuals that see things a certain way, and then in WWE, you have individuals that are primed for other positions and other roles that they see for each talent. And I'm sure you've seen it with other talents where you're just kind of scratching your head a little bit, right? So we came in there expecting, something similar to what we were doing in NXT, which clearly wasn't the case. I think to a certain, you're always grateful because fuck it. That's the dream, is to be there. That's what you want to do. That's where you want to be. I wouldn't be having this interview if it wasn't for that. You know what I mean? So you have to appreciate everything, good or bad. It doesn't really matter. But it was just one of those things where you have a role, and that's the best way I can put it. You have a role, and if you don't want to do it, well, guess what? There's going to be somebody else that will. And so we just made the best of it, the best we could for what was given to us. Was it frustrating? Yeah, I think anybody would, especially, you're putting all this time in to get to this level, knowing that you want to give more back to a company that is like, well, this is what we want. And right now we've got other players where we're going to just focus on that. We need you guys here. And so, yeah, I think that's frustrating for anybody, but, then I look at it in a different light and I say to myself, well, if it wasn't for WWE, I never would have met my wife, because that's where I met her, was in Deep South. If I didn't have that happen, then I never would have had my son. I wouldn't have all the things I've had. So it's like, I could sit here and bitch about it and be and be a little complainer, but reality is I'm really grateful for everything. I'm not mad about it. I'm just like, damn, we left money on the table, and they left money on the table. And that's always going to be frustrating. But at the same time, I say, you know what? You never say never in this business, because anything's possible. You see guys going back all the time, older than me, and it's just like, it's crazy. So you just don't know. I don't know, it's, I just look at it right now, and I can sleep peacefully.
And at the same time, whatever they're having you do, I know that, hey, this is my employer. I'm doing my job. I'm doing what they ask. But, I just look at, and it's not just you, it's just some of the head scratchers. I don't understand. And to this day, and they don't even have to be a call up, but, why they do what they do. So you guys are in the Elimination Chamber, though, first one, right? Tag team?
Man, yeah. Man, what a night. I can still remember that like it was yesterday.
Got to tell me some stories here, because that looks unforgiving.
Yeah, it was. So we didn't have a chance to walk through any of it. Not any of it. And that was really frustrating for a lot of us that was in that match, because it was the first ever. None of those guys really had been in an Elimination Chamber match. Maybe a couple guys, but for the majority, nobody. So no one really knew. But damn, it was exciting though. And we're going over spots. We're just talking about it. We're not walking through stuff. We're not trying to figure stuff out. We're just, okay, Kalisto, hang up there and then drop on us. And then, of course, he missed his cue, and he's just up there hanging forever. And we're like, you really fucked that one up. As we're waiting for the next entrance to come out, or whatever it was, for the door to open. But it was so much fun, because that is a piece of history, and it was really good, and it was really fun. And at the end of the night, when we were all done, we all were very nervous. We were very stressed out because we couldn't remember stuff. But I think it came out okay at the very end. I think we all came to the back. We all hugged each other, and we're all proud of what we did, considering the fact that, we had to do it literally what felt like on a whim, because it was just like, okay, bang, you, okay, this, you want to do that. I mean, there's so much. I even looked at Vic in that when we're in the back, and people were trying to talk to me, and Vic was trying to talk to me, and I just looked at him and I go, I got so much damn shit I got to remember. Please just leave me alone while I'm trying to think about all this stuff. But it came out great, and it was a lot of fun, man. It really was. No, it was one of the biggest things I remember from that, from WWE being there was that magic. It was magic to me. It was a lot of fun.
That was a big time match because the first time doing it with tag teams. So that's one of the things that sticks in my head. Now, this question is going to be tough to answer because I'd hate to answer it myself. But you going on, you had a list of great people that you trained with and a lot of people that you worked with. Can you give me a couple pieces of what would you say was some of the best advice that you've gotten in your career so far?
Yeah. So when I think about things that, like some of the coaches have always taught me, it's just, there are only so many things that you can control in this business. And that is the way you look, your gear, and your attitude. Other than that, pretty much everything is going to go, however the companies want them to go for the most part. Always stay humble. Always, try to be as positive as you can. There's always something positive in every negative. And just, the biggest thing even to this day that I think about is always treat people with respect, because you're going to meet them as you go up and you're going to meet them when you're passing them down, as I'm sure you know. So it's always important to treat people the way that you would want them to treat you. And that's one of the things I always try to do. Like when you talk to anybody, I would think if you talk to anybody about me, I was always nice to people, and I think that's important. Yeah, sometimes you have bad days, and we all do, and you just want to, shit, cuss, swear, whatever. It's just part of nature. So, but I always try to be good to people. I always try to ask questions to my peers. I always just respect everyone, shake their hands, ask them how their family's doing, and be considerate and listen.
Listening is the big one. I end up talking a whole lot, but yeah, since our we've been speaking, you've been achieving that goal. You've been nothing but great with me. One of my first matches ever, King Kong Bundy's on the card. So you talk about, I love the indies because it's people on the way up, people on the way down.
Yeah.
Guys on the way down might be back up. So it's always. I finally ask, and at this time we don't have cell phones. I got Polaroid, but I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, Mr. Bundy. I'm like, this is before everything. Can I get a picture with you? And he goes, please call me Chris. I can't. How can you? Oh, I can't. And it's on my Facebook. I'll have to see if they can edit it in.
Oh, man.
But the picture,
I don't know why that's just funny as hell.
Oh, dude, it killed me because he's like, please call me Chris. I know you were in the blue cage with Hogan. How can I ever? There's never going to be, even if King Kong Bundy and I sat down and drank beer after beer, week after week, I would never feel like I would be comfortable calling a guy Chris after I watch him. He does the big hands around my neck, and I'll try to get this pull right up. And I'm laughing so hard you can see the gum in my mouth because he whispers in my ear, the chicks are just going to cream when they see me and you in a picture together. And I'm like, some line out of Grease or something. I was like, oh, I'm dying in this picture. But one of my most treasured pieces of memory right there in that Polaroid.
That's amazing. So all these years of loving King Kong Bundy, and that's what he says to you.
Yeah,
girls are going to cream with us in this picture.
Chicks are going to cream when they see you and I. And I'm like, what? It could probably almost.
That's amazing. What a great story.
That one and my first time ever meeting the hardcore legend Mick Foley.
Oh,
at a show.
Great.
I love going to shows and just being a fan. So I'm like, I'm going to go get the book signed. So I wait in line to meet the hardcore legend, and he does this. He's like complete. I'm like, oh, not exactly how I pictured this moment of, hey Mick, how you doing? And he's just in full 30-second yawn mode. I'm like, could you sign this? And, yeah, sure. I'm like, awesome. That's my Mick Foley story.
Oh, wait a second. Now, is this a bad thing or a good thing to you?
Oh, it's hilarious. I think it's awesome.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
Yeah. No, I think it's fantastic. Because
I was gonna vouch and say he's an amazing person too. Like he's awesome.
I'm sorry. Dude can't control when he yawns. I can't. He can't. But
he's probably tired as hell from playing Santa later that night or whatever it might have been.
Yeah, and I'm just glad it was me and not some smarty pants fan that was gonna be like, Mick Foley
gets all hurt and yeah.
I even said something. I go, I never thought I could. The hardcore legend be yawning, and he's like, but it was cool. Another story I just told this morning on a podcast. I can't pronounce their Dijakovic is what they're calling him now in NXT. Okay. Donovan Dijak on that same show. I think while I'm waiting to see Mick, he is on that, and I never seen him before, but I love this guy from this point on. Some little kid about this high, and he goes, "Hey kid, who's your favorite wrestler?" And he goes, "Oh, I love, the Hardy Boys." "Well, which one's your favorite?" He goes, "I really love Matt Hardy." And about 30 seconds goes by, and he goes, "Well, I'm gonna kick his ass tonight." And I'm like, "I love it, kayfabe. I love it. I love it." And they had a great match, but I was like, oh. I almost wanted to jump out of line and shake the guy's hand, but it was hilarious.
That's awesome.
I feel like I've been telling way too many stories there. The main focus of the show, I want to know, so you guys leave WWE.
Yeah.
And how long ago was that now? What's the time frame roughly?
That would have been January, mid-March. I want to say March 17th or 14th. I want to say was when our 90-day clause expired.
And then you guys appeared on a couple indie shows, I know.
Yes, we went up to New York. I believe it was New York. We went up there. We did a seminar, we did a seminar. We did one show, maybe it was two shows. Damn, I can't remember. But COVID does. I mean, that thing just fucked everyone up.
Still.
Yeah.
So we know we got Big Con, we got Vic. What is the tag team called as it exists right now? Even though we're all paused, but
yeah. So we had been sitting back, and we had a couple friends that we were talking to that kind of helped us out with this, because we were sitting there, we're trying to wonder ourselves, because WWE has the rights to the Ascension. So we were throwing some things back and forth, and then our buddy had mentioned, "Hey, have you guys ever thought about becoming the Awakening?" And I go, "Damn, boy, I think you might have just found something." So now we call ourselves the Awakening, and we've got our whole motto. We've got our whole look. We're just waiting for it. We're just waiting to put it out there. But it's badass, and it's definitely a step up, and it's us. And it's basically, our logo is Rise to the Awakening. So it's the Awakening. So we get straight to the answer. It's going to be called The Awakening, and it's badass. We've already got new music made for us, and yeah, it's good, man. It's good.
Hopefully sooner rather than later. Let's talk about COVID. The reason I started the lockdown sessions. What have you? I know the obvious answers. You probably, on one side, you've gotten to spend time with your family.
Sure. Yeah.
The great side. But what have you done? What have you been able to do, pro wrestling wise, to keep your sanity during this crazy?
Yeah. So what I've been doing is I've been releasing T-shirts, of course. I've got an artist who's been helping me with things like that. I've been working out some things with Collar and Elbow, Grudge Match brand, who I love, which I'm representing right now. Also, I've been training down at the Tampa Bay Pro Wrestling Academy, Jay Lethal's academy. So as of just a couple weeks ago, we're getting into the mingle of things, and I've been helping train there. So that's what I've been doing to kind of keep my head on right. Plus, I love it, and you're able to give back to the kids and stuff, and that's I don't know, man. That's kind of what it's all about, right? Like I believe in giving back, and so it's helped my sanity quite a bit, with going there, helping kids out, and just getting ready and getting prepared for the next venture for us when the gates are lifted and we're ready to go.
Right, that's the thing. That's got to be nice, because you look at the younger guys the same way. You put yourselves in their shoes, and
absolutely,
we've all met jerks along the way.
Too many.
It's cool to be the nice guy. Yeah, way too many. I know. Yeah. I always feel like I'm going to start telling stories about somebody, and they're going to be like, "Really, I hate Slaughter," and I'm like, "Oh no, I don't want to. Please don't tell me." It's always a case of don't meet your heroes. But I found in my some people just don't have that radar to know when somebody's in a bad mood or it's unapproachable situation. Some people just kind of push it and go. I heard really bad stories about meeting Ric Flair. He was a sweetheart, but guess what? I kept it short and sweet. I didn't go up to him while he was eating a meal and go, "Hey." It was a regular, like, "Hey, go on in. Yeah, you can get a picture." I'm like, "All right, cool." Because he had handlers all around him. Just asked if it was possible. We're on the same show. And he goes, "Yep." He goes, "I'll ask him." I go, "Do not piss him off. Please do not piss him off." And Rick's like, "I hear you. Come on over." So that was good. I hear many horror stories, so it's nice to be the good guy. I want to be respectful of your time, so I got a couple more questions for you.
You got it. Go ahead, Justin.
The main one I want to talk about, because we just touched on it, the awakening. How can everybody that's watching this, all of the fans of Wrestling Travel and yourself and all the new fans that we're going to get, hopefully, how can they follow you? What are your social medias that the fans are? How do they get a hold of T-shirts and stuff?
Yeah, so you can always hit me on my social. It's big_con1. Look for the verifications. That's on my Twitter, my Instagram. And right now I'm in collaboration with Grudge Match and Collar and Elbow. We're working out some details right now. I know them personally, so I'm just kind of like working kind of like on their time a little bit. Grudge Match right now is writing up addendum and stuff for us right now. So it should be out there pretty soon. And once it is, I'll make sure to blast that on my social, and I'll make sure that, you can check Vic's social media out too as well. And then we'll make sure to put that there as well for him.
Vic, with no way to DM him for an interview, so he needs to fix that for verified account to verified account, so we can get him on. See, I'm glad I'm being respectful of your time here, because it's almost time to go. I was going to say, live pro wrestling for me returns tomorrow night at a company in Chicago called Warrior Wrestling. I just wanted to get your thoughts on this matchup. Tell me this isn't a matchup that would sell out anywhere. Brian Cage versus Jeff Cobb is happening in a football stadium in Chicago tomorrow night under the lights.
That's awesome. Now, what's funny is I've known Brian since Deep South.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was in Deep South, and guy's just a genetic freak, right? Fucking freak. I've seen, I don't know Jeff Cobb personally. I've seen some things that he's done. And I think the kid's got a hell of a future. So when I look at those two behemoths, I think from a big guy and you being a big guy, we can really appreciate that. And they can move too, which is pretty cool. Not only are they strong, but those boys can move.
That's the thing. If this was happening in 1988, this is just going to be a slugfest. But I'm like, dude, all that mass is going to be flying at each other. I mean, and it's awesome. I'm glad I'm going to be able to get down there. And if not, it's on Fight TV and High Spots and all that cool stuff. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. I want to let you go because I hear the alarm going off in the background. So I do appreciate your time, and we look forward to speaking with you again down the road in that return to wrestling.
Hell yeah, Justin. I look forward to it too, and hopefully we'll have some more cool stories to talk about.
We can go all day. I always I need to put a timer on myself. So thank you very much, Big Con. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Justin. Thank you for having me.